Hey everyone, and welcome to Mama Me Unfiltered, the podcast where we keep it real, raw, and relatable. I'm Brianna.
And I'm Zuni, and we're here to share unfiltered conversations about life, love, family, and everything in between. Nothing is off limits, from generational differences to parenting perspectives. We're diving deep, we're laughing loud, and we're learning as we go.
So let's grab a cup of coffee, let's get comfy, and let's get into today's episode.
Today's episode is going to be uh, about living in a NYCHA development. Let's talk about it.
So I think living in housing is pretty interesting. We've had a few interesting happenstance, and we have a lot of interesting neighbors.
So, I guess it's different for everyone living in NYCHA, and it also depends on the development you live at. But it seems that eventually, no matter how nice your development is, when they start to allow a certain dynamic into your development, it just deteriorates slowly because it seems like living in NYCHA, people have like the perception of if you live in a NYCHA development, you live in the projects, it's garbage.
Yeah.
And that's only because that's what the people that live in it and don't care make it into. But if you're in a NYCHA development and everyone in the building, or more than half of the people that live in these developments, care about what's happening and care about the building and the surroundings and advocate for the building, things, change, or things become better, or things stay. And also, management plays a big role.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if there's a manager in a development that doesn't care, or that is just there to pick up their paycheck, and whatever happens, they're just doing the bare minimum, and they don't care about the actual development itself, then it becomes something that it just is just worse and worse. And it's crazy because I feel that it takes so much to get people out of NYCHA apartments that shouldn't be there, or that are, doing illegal things, or that are not being neighborly and doing, like, I don't even know how to explain it, but
Just not being neighborly or
well, no, not being neighborly, but like it's just so hard to like get people out that are undesirable, that shouldn't be living in a decent building, period, because they're the ones that are destroying the quality of life. Anyone that's destroying the quality of life in the building, it's difficult to get rid of them because it's been encountered before. And you know for yourself that, growing up in a NYCHA development, the changes that you've seen
mm-hmm.
from what it used to be to what it is now, because there were and are probably still good developments that are
Mm-hmm.
handled in a certain way where the tenants know if anything happens that they're called to the office for a complaint, they correct it right away because they know that there's consequences.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're called to the office and there's no consequences to your actions, then people are going to continue those ridiculous actions.
I think it comes down to like you know how kids like feel invincible when they're young and they like they think they could get away with anything. So I think it's similar mentality for adults. Like if nothing is being done, they can get away with it. And since nothing has been done, they just keep doing it. And I think that that is something that needs to be taken into account when putting in disciplinary actions for the tenants. Because if there's not a bigger bigger consequence, then they won't ever feel the need to improve.
Right, or make corrections, which is sad. And I feel that, NYCHA has this whole book of rules. NYCHA has this whole thing where they'll send you all these rules and regulations in the mail, and they'll tell you there's certain things you can and cannot do. And they put posters, they plaster it all over the building. But when you send a complaint to the management office that someone is violating one of those rules, they don't do anything. It's like a slap on the wrist, and it continues on and is a vicious cycle of things not being done and things not being handled. And it just continues on and on.
Yeah. And they even post warning signs all around the building what not to do, like no smoking, no trespassing, and yet people still do it.
Right. And then again, when it's reported to the management office, no action is taken. Or if the tenant is called to the building, they're told, oh, you're not supposed to do that. But the tenant will continue on to do the same action like they don't care
Yeah.
because they feel that there's not going to be a consequence for their action. So, yeah, they can be called to the office 20 times. They don't care. They're just going to go. And regardless, they know nothing is going to take place. So they just continue.
And that's something that shouldn't be done. It should be like you get a warning, and then after that you some like they take it higher and higher until eviction.
Right.
Like it should be like a step by step
But
thing.
that's the way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a certain amount of complaints, and then it goes to, what is it, housing court? And then in housing court is a decision. But now you don't see that. You don't see people being held accountable for what they're doing. And it's a shame because I feel that NYCHA buildings, the projects, gets a bad rap. And, we've lived in one of the nicest areas and one of the nicest buildings
Oh yeah, that's right.
for NYCHA, in NYCHA.
Mm-hmm.
And for many, many years, the building was held up and it was beautiful. It doesn't even look like a NYCHA development. It looks like just one of these regular luxury buildings that it's surrounded by. It doesn't look like the projects.
Exactly.
But of course, as the older generation has died off, they've allowed other people to move in that have, you know, destroyed the quality of life in the building, which is sad because I've seen what the building was to what it has become, and it's because it was allowed to happen. It was allowed to take place, and had management done everything they were supposed to do to make sure that this building stayed the same way the whole time, it just didn't happen. And it's crazy because I felt so proud of my building. I felt so proud of where I lived. I felt so safe. I felt so happy. I felt so content that, that I just wasn't in a regular NYCHA development.
Yeah, we have terraces. All the housing projects that I've seen don't have terraces.
No, they don't. It's just a
We
regular,
have like,
and it's a cluster of buildings. And then
yeah,
for us, it's just two buildings across the street from one another, and that's it. But it's a shame to what this building has become, and it's become like one of the regular old buildings that you see on the east side where I grew up, um, or any of the other boroughs and any of the other projects,
mm-hmm.
because we never had anyone urinating in our elevators. That wasn't a thing. It was
Nope.
never a thing.
No, it was not.
And all of the people that lived here prior to the change took care of this building. Everyone knew each other. Everyone looked out for one another. And, Halloween was like a big party in the hallways because everyone knew each other. And we were invited inside of other people's apartments because
Yeah.
that's the type of building that this used to be. Now you can't get invited to someone's apartments
Yeah.
anymore.
Like like you said, no one was ever peeing in the elevators
Urinating,
or,
yes.
well, peeing, urinating, but nor were they
Or the
there.
dogs, even when they
Oh,
had dogs, the
yes.
dogs weren't urinating in the elevators either because now you don't know if it's a dog or it's a human. You don't know if it's a dog or it's a human, which sucks.
Oh my god. Yeah.
And the kids coming in from the nearby high schools, that's a new thing that's been happening for the past several years that never happened before.
Yeah, it's like
We used to have a police officer patrolling this building at all hours of the day and night, and we never had issues. We never had people coming into our hallways or stairwells and sleeping there or hanging out there. And now it's like a trend. It's like the new thing to do now.
yeah.
And it's all because of the people they allow to move in, and they know they get complaints about these people, and they don't do everything they need to do to remove these people from these buildings. And I understand that people need a place to live. Everyone deserves to have a roof over their head, no matter whether they're, you know,
Yeah.
doing the right thing or not. But we need to keep our buildings clean and safe. And in order to do that, we need to move those types of people out of the building
Yeah.
and find somewhere else to put them.
Exactly. Because I know for a fact that, okay, so a few friends of mine used to come around the building, but I only saw them once and they were leaving the building. I think it was more like an out situation. because it hadn't been that long since school had the out. So I'm like, and I told them when I saw them, I'm like, what you doing in my building?
Mm-hmm.
They're like, just hanging out. And I was like, nah, don't do that. Because I'm like, this is my building. This is where I live, and I want it to be safe. So I'm like, I told them not to do that because
So
I want to
they
keep it clean, safe, and
did they tell you that they were hanging out just in within the building, not visiting someone?
yeah,
Okay, and after you told them don't do that.
yeah. I never saw them again or ever encountered them on the way back home from school.
Okay, but it doesn't mean that they stopped because we
True.
continued to have issues with kids from that school still coming to this building years after. And also, the tenants in the building want a safe environment. The tenants in the building want to keep all of these things from happening, but they're afraid to, some of them are afraid to complain. Some of them are afraid to speak up. Some of them are afraid to call the police when um, people are trespassing. And they're afraid of confrontation and the way things are now. They're just afraid that something will happen to them just for them trying to keep the building safe. And
And yeah, that's understandable.
it sucks because you're paying your rent, you're paying your bills to live in your apartment and you want to have a clean, safe environment, but other people are making it impossible for that to happen.
Yep.
And part of the problem are some of the people that are being let into these buildings to live because how are these kids coming into this building? How do they know it's okay to come here? Unless someone from here is telling them to come hang out here.
Yeah.
How are these homeless people or drug addicts coming into our building to do the things that they're doing in our building? It's because someone from here is either supplying something to them or telling them it's okay for them to come into this building or they're doing it in this building together.
Yeah, I ran into a video online because I looked up our building on the internet, and there was a video of this guy and another guy coming into the building and just smoking and traveling the stairways and hallways, and I'm like, that's my building. And like, these two who were not even tenants are coming into our building, and this was like years ago, like 2007.
I'm so confused by the story. I'm so confused by the story you just told. It started with a video and then it ended with this building.
Yeah,
I
a
don't know
video of this building.
Okay.
Like, two people came into this building,
Mhm.
videotaping themselves, traveling the hallways and traveling the stairs, smoking marijuana.
Mhm.
And this was like 2006 or 7 or.
Okay, well, that was probably students or kids from the high schools that come here to do that. So it wasn't two guys, it was probably students from the nearby high schools, because who else does stuff like that? Kids.
I don't know.
And of course, recording yourself is now a thing, or recording everything you do is now a thing. So, of course, they wanted to record whatever it is that they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know if they went viral for it. Maybe that's what they wanted. Don't know. But that kind of threw me off. That story threw me off.
Sorry.
Just really threw me off. But thank you. Thank you for sharing that
Well,
story.
word of mouth. Could have been that video.
No, it couldn't have been that video, like, because you don't know who saw it.
True.
So it's like I said, it's word of mouth of people saying, "Oh, I went into this building. We could come hang out in this building because so and so told me we could." Because I have seen kids that live in this building with other teens from their school here in the stairwells. And for me, that's crazy that you would want to bring someone into your own building where you live to destroy the quality of life of your own building.
Yeah.
That just makes no sense to me.
Especially if you know it's gonna get back to your parents.
Right?
Like,
You do
be
things
so
outside.
smart right
Right?
now.
You do things outside of your own building or where you live or where people you know. Because I know if I catch you and I know your parent, I'm going straight to your parent. And I'm going to let your parent know what you're doing.
Exactly.
Because it's ridiculous that you would come here and bring other people here to destroy what we try so hard to keep clean and safe.
Mm-hmm.
So not only that, the issues with NYCHA as a whole of, the doors constantly being vandalized. There's cameras. Why are there cameras in NYCHA? Why? Why do we have cameras if vandalizing our doors and breaking our door locks is supposed to be something that's a criminal act, but it's the people that are doing it are not being held accountable?
And not only that, that is also a violation of the no trespassing rule too.
Right, but sometimes it's people that actually live here that are not actual tenants on the lease, but they live with the person that's on the lease and they don't have a key. And because they cannot get in, they break the door and they think that that's okay. Those people are definitely caught on camera. Why aren't they being held accountable for what they're doing? You know who they are, you have them on camera.
It's also it also violates other people's safety because you're potentially putting other people at risk for something
Just because you want to get in the
bad.
building. Just
Yeah.
because you want to get in the building. And the door is going to get fixed eventually. So what, you're going to continue to break the door? You're going to continue to vandalize the building? And again, they're not being held accountable. The cameras are not being reviewed. So why do we have them? Why does someone have to get hurt in order for the videos to be reviewed?
God,
when
so true.
When you can review the videos and see who's vandalizing the building so that we could prevent anything worse from happening.
And I'm like, there's already been a few incidences in this building where something happened.
And don't even get me started with the hot water situation.
Oh, brother.
Like, living in NYCHA, depending on what development you have that you live in, you may or may not have hot water issues. And we never had that issue of hot water up until recently.
Mm-hmm.
And it was happening for months on end that you have hot water for a day or two, but then you don't have hot water just randomly. Or you'll have hot water in the morning and then randomly you won't have hot water for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And then you put in ticket after ticket after ticket and nothing is being resolved.
Yeah. And nothing is being investigated either, because if you see this many tickets being put in for the same thing day after day, then you got to investigate that, because that's a serious issue.
But again, it boils down to management and management not caring. And they'll know that there's an issue. And if someone above them does not reach out and say, hey, like, I'm finding out that there's an issue and it needs to be resolved, it doesn't get resolved unless something like that happens or you have to put them on the news. You report it to you go to a reporter and you report it to them and they do a story, and right away NYCHA wants to handle everything and fix everything and take care of everything. But if you don't put it out there that things aren't getting done, they don't do anything. And it's a shame. Like, why should it take all of that for someone to do their job? Because people that live in NYCHA are human. People that live in NYCHA are working individuals that pay their rent. And it's what, it's a human necessity to have hot
Yeah.
water. So no one should go without hot water on a daily basis, or go through an issue where there's a consistent issue of hot water. When you can't do your dishes, you can't shower, and you can't clean your house because what are you going to do? Mop your floor with cold water? So it's a shame that there has to be issues like that that people just don't want to get resolved. And, they probably, because they don't live in a NYCHA development, they just don't care. If they don't experience what you experience, it doesn't compute.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people that live in NYCHA developments that are hardworking people that pay their rent on time, want to live in a clean environment, don't want to live in NYCHA developments anymore because everything is deteriorating. No one cares.
Mm-hmm.
People just take a NYCHA job just to have a job, just to get a paycheck. And whatever happens, they just don't care about the people, the humans that are actually living in these developments, because it's always an issue and it's always a far greater issue. There's been mold issues. The issue with the mold, even with putting a screwdriver through a wall and showing, someone like, hey, this is mold, the screwdriver shouldn't just randomly go through the wall. And still, you have to like go up the channels to go up above people's heads just to get things resolved. And it's annoying. It's annoying to have to consistently put tickets. It's annoying to consistently have to complain. It's annoying to have to go from person to person to person until you get to the right people and the right channels to get your issues resolved. When, we all deserve human decency
We all
across
deserve.
the board.
Yeah.
Like, we're all humans and we all deserve to have the basic necessities. And hot water is a basic necessity. A clean environment is a basic necessity. A safe environment is a basic necessity. So how could these people that work for NYCHA lay their heads down on their pillows at night knowing that they're not resolving an issue for another human being?
I think it just comes down to one thing and one thing alone, just not caring. People are just so desensitized to caring for other human beings in this day and age because no one's going out of their way to help each other or even do their jobs right.
I've seen developments go like with no water, that they had to put like some type of water
Station, like a
station
water
downstairs, and
station.
they're downstairs filling up buckets and pots and pans of whatever they can fill up with water. How is that humane?
It's not.
How is that okay? How is that all right that people have no water and they have to come all the way downstairs to get water from a water station? Or the issues with the elevators. There's developments that go without elevators for long periods of time. There's buildings that go through issues with no gas for long periods of time. That they distribute hot plates and people have to cook with hot plates and stuff like that. Like, how is that okay?
It's not. And like I said, it comes down to not caring. In this day and age where people are supposedly all about helping others, they really aren't because unless you're not getting any money out of it, they just don't care. And it's sad, even with getting money, they just don't care.
See, I'm grateful that at least, we've lived in one of the better developments where, yeah, there have been issues, but it's never gotten to the point where, oh, we don't have water for an extensive amount of time, where we have a water station, or where we don't have elevators for long periods of time, or where we're, dealing with the no gas situation. That, this development, out of the years that we've been here, those haven't been like really big issues for us. But
Mm-hmm.
when I watch it on the news and I see it happening to other people, it bothers me because,
That's because you care.
right, well, yeah, because I care, but it bothers me because that could be us.
Yeah, no.
It doesn't mean that.
Listen, that's how you are, and that's how other people should be. It should bother them. It should trigger them to want to help reach out and resolve the issues. But that's not everyone, unfortunately. And it's sad
It is sad.
because
And the thing is, there's tenant association. That's another thing. Tenant association, they should be getting together. And I've seen a lot of these tenant association presidents, or even people that are involved. If they're involved and they don't see action, being taken when they're trying to speak to management and do things on their own, they take it upon themselves and they call the reporters
hmm
and they put it out there that they're not being heard, and they're fighting for their buildings. But there's other tenant association, you know, presidents and people that work for tenant association or are involved in tenant association that don't care enough to step it up and do that when they see things aren't getting resolved and
hmm
things aren't getting done.
And I agree with you on that because I've seen it happen. Because when you know how my job is doing the renovations for the NYCHA buildings down in Brooklyn. Um, there was this one tenant association president that had the numbers of all the tenants, and she was on it. She was making sure that everyone had their things, had everything resolved, and she was very,
Involved.
yeah, very involved. And I feel that a lot more tenant association presidents should be like that.
Well, a lot of the time, some tenant association people that get involved in tenant association as a whole don't do it for the building. They do it for selfish reasons. They do it because their repairs will get done faster because they're involved in tenant association and they're connected with the manager directly and stuff like that. So they don't have to wait like everyone else to get certain things done. And of course, they get extra special treatment at certain developments as well. So that bothers me. If you're going to get involved in the building, do it because you actually care about the building and you care about the building as a whole and everyone that's in it, not just yourself. So that's another thing that bothers me about.
Humans nowadays. Humans nowadays. Where is the heart?
Well, like I said, a lot of people is just, they're out just for themselves. They don't want to help others. They don't care about what happens with others.
And I understand that you want to look at, like, take care of yourself, but at the same time, take care of other people too.
Right, but the lock downstairs being vandalized, that affects the building as a whole. So why aren't you, as tenant association, doing more to make sure that the door is
Yeah.
repaired in a timely manner, and that the door, whoever is vandalizing it, is being held accountable.
Mm-hmm.
You're not stepping it up to do any of that, are you? Or to keep people out of the building that are destroying the quality of life. Are you advocating for that? No. Are you advocating for the repairs to get done? What are you really advocating for?
They ain't advocating for nothing.
Right. Or
They,
are you just there holding a space?
I really think that people need to like start speaking up about these tenant association presidents who are not doing their job.
It's hard because a lot of people aren't aware, because a lot of people aren't involved.
True.
And if people are living their day to day and they're going to work, they don't know who is doing what. If you don't actually get involved, you don't know what's happening. Because so many people will say, oh, this person has done so much for the building. But when there's other people that have been on the inside, and you hear a comment like that, you're looking at the person like you don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Like you think this person has done a lot, but it's actually not. This person is actually doing everything for selfish reasons and doing it for themselves. So I do think it's hard because I know, like, for tenant association as a whole, there's elections and a lot of people don't show up. And then, a lot of the times the people that do show up kind of like get together in a clique and be like, oh, you vote for me for this and you vote for me for
Yeah.
that. And it's kind of like that type of thing. And it's like the people that have held those roles all those years kind of keep them because of that situation.
Yeah.
And other people say, well, we don't want this person to be president anymore, but we don't have anyone that's going to step up or anyone that's going to vote for someone else. So that's another reason why things remain the same. And people need to start caring more about their building and get more involved and get people involved that actually do care about what's happening in the building. And I think that doing tenant association and working is kind of hard. I think tenant association, to really truly be involved like that, you would need to like not work because
Yeah.
it's a task. It's
Yeah.
not something. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a full-time job practically.
It's a lot.
Because I've seen some of the things that the tenant association workers have had to do, and it's like a full-time job.
Yeah, it's a lot to take on. So I don't know. I don't know. It's a lot to take on, and
But someone needs to step up.
but someone needs
to
to.
step up
Right.
because if you keep on not standing up for what you believe in, things are still gonna happen. Like
Well,
what's
it's not what
happening.
you believe in. It's step up for where you live. Step
Yeah.
up for what you want, and for the quality of life that you're looking for and that you want. Because again, I would have never thought
Step
that.
up for the change you want.
Right. I would have never thought that this building would turn into what it has because of what it was when I first moved in. Because you weren't even born. You
Yeah,
weren't
no.
even here.
I was like, what?
So
Not even a thought. It was years before I came.
like for this building was always so safe. Like I said, there was always police officers
Yeah.
patrolling the building at all hours of the day and the night. And once that changed, that's when once the officers were out of our building, things just changed for the worse. And we're hoping that we can roll that back and either get an officer back in our building or have patrols in our buildings every now and then or something. Just something needs to change. But
Yeah.
and it's not only about safety again. It's just NYCHA as a whole needs to change and they need to do better.
Mm-hmm.
NYCHA needs to do better. And I think I've said my piece.
I think I've said
Because
my
I
piece
can
as
go on
well.
all day on this one.
I know, so can I, but
But I've said my piece. We're going to leave it there, and we'll see everyone
in the next.
in the next.